When the Chicago Bears hired Ben Johnson, they made him the seventh highest paid coach in the NFL, really breaking a trend by the Chicago Bears of cheapness by this organization. We're going to talk a little bit about that, plus more changes coming to the Chicago Bears after the hiring of Ben Johnson, and who are some other free agents outside of ones that used to play for Ben Johnson that the Chicago Bears should take a look at. We're finally getting ready to start diving into actual offseason content. All that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform I happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into it, man. So the Chicago Bears reportedly, we still don't know if this is the exact numbers, but the reported numbers are that the Chicago Bears will be paying Ben Johnson $13 million per year, which puts him right up there as far as that would make him the seventh highest paid coach in the NFL, right? When you look at Kyle Shanahan, who is the sixth highest paid coach, who's making $14 million a year, right? You have John Harbaugh, who's making $12 million per year, so he's making more than that as well. So when you have Ben Johnson, who's coming in there at number 7, right? That, hey, this shows the expectations, but you know what this shows more than anything else as well? That the Bears actually held true to their word. And I think that's something that I know I have not talked about a lot here. Like we heard at the beginning, when this process first started, that money would not be something that would limit the Chicago Bears in their search for their next head coach. That they were able to open the checkbook to get in the guy that they wanted to be their next head coach. That's what reportedly that we heard, and understandably so. A lot of people had questions on if that was going to actually happen because that's not how the Chicago Bears do things, right? And reportedly as well that the fact that George McCaskey did open up the checkbook that much has actually shocked some people around the NFL because, again, this is just not typically how you see the Chicago Bears do business. Now, it is how other franchises in the NFL have done business before, but not the Bears. And so while, I know we all critique the Bears, especially those that have been Bears fans for their whole entire life, we all have a jaded look at this team. Well, I think it's a realistic look. Calling it jaded may not be fair. A realistic look on the fact that the Bears they don't do things outside of their norm, right? We've talked about before, the Bears have, I said it coming into this process, right? If they either they went with Ben Johnson or Mike McCarthy, it would be the highest profile coach that the Chicago Bears have ever hired. Ben Johnson is the highest profile coach that the Chicago Bears have ever hired. It just is. And, while they have gone first-time head coaches before, they've never gotten the hottest name out there, right? And I know some people. I already saw some people that just like to be contrarians. And but Fox was highly coveted, not at nearly the level that either Mike McCarthy or Ben Johnson is. Not even remote. Not even close to how highly regarded these guys were out on the market. And so the Bears, when it comes down to it, they have done something different. And this is a bit of uncharted territory, right? Because we had hope, and we've talked about how the Bears are going to need to be different. They're going to need somebody who's going to do something different because the way that this team has been doing things, the way that the Bears do things for so long has just led us into a place of just disappointment, right? And so the Bears have missed out on people not being willing to open up the checkbook today, and they did it. And when you look at the bidding war that was reportedly there between Ben Johnson and the Raiders, Ben Johnson and the Bears, the fact that the Bears beat those teams out, that they open up and reportedly he even took less than what the reported offer was from the Raiders to come here to Chicago. And I posted it on the channel. I know most of you guys have probably seen it. The video of Ben Johnson coming out there and saying, and just the energy that he had, saying this is exactly what he wanted to be, and the energy that was there, it does feel different as of now. Now, all that's great, but you got to have the results on the football field. And I'm not here to yuck on anybody's yum or to shit on anybody's excitement, but that's just where I sit right now. This is great. This is a great hire. And it is a sign of the Bears doing something different. But if it does not come with difference on the football field, where the Bears are actually competing in the NFC North for years and years and years, what does it all mean? What does it all mean? That's the question. So now that Ryan Poles got his quarterback, he has his coach, Kevin Warren's here, George McCaskey's on board, he opened up the book. Like, how much more now can we continue to change the trends of what Chicago Bears football has been so long? That's the biggest question here. And that is what I hope that we continue to see things that are different. I once said during this coaching search that the Chicago Bears they need to have somebody in the building that's not afraid to shake the table. Meaning that I don't want to see somebody just to come in here to disrupt, to kind of make their name, but somebody who's not afraid to make their impact on things, that are not afraid to talk and voice their opinions, who are not afraid to change things. And hopefully that is Ben Johnson. Hopefully he is the guy that's going to be able to do that. Him, along with Caleb, along with Ryan Poles, and the rest of the coaches and talent on this team start getting into now the Bears getting on path of winning. That's what the hope is here, right? So, this has been a much different offseason for the Bears. Casting the wide net, hiring a coach that they never had a sit-down in-person interview with before they hired, going through all this coaching and all this talk, all this conversation to make sure and get all these different opinions to make sure that the guy was the guy, right? And so that is something that's different now. Hopefully we can have alignment with the guy that sees the vision for Caleb Williams, a guy that sees all of this and now brings it along. And that's ultimately the hope. But the Bears, I got to give them credit. This is something different than what the Bears have done over the course of their history. Now, that last difference that we need to make, that last thing is make a difference by winning consistently on the football field and getting back to a level of respectability, not only in our division, but in the conference and in the NFL overall. That's the next step in this process. So you got your guy, you got your quarterback, you got these things in place. Now go out there and make a winning football team. That's the next phase of this. And, I love the shade coming. By the way, y'all know Petty Roosevelt is a thing. I'll say this. Seeing Detroit Lions fans and even David Montgomery's post and even Las Vegas Raiders fans, to see all these people now talking shit about the Bears and the hire, like you got Detroit Lions podcast calling Ben Johnson, Benedict Arnold, like all this shit. You went to the Bears. Hey, listen, it's all fine and dandy, right? And the Bears still have a lot that they need to prove on the football field. But I guess I tell you what, everybody's looking. Now everybody is watching to see how this thing goes with the Chicago Bears. Will it crash and burn? Let's hope not, right? You want to have success with this team, with this new thing that you're building, and let's hope that the Bears can get that and do that. But I think overall it's still this when it comes all down to it. The Bears have to win, right? And that's the thing that overall, like I said, throughout this whole entire process, and that's not to be pessimistic, it's just to be real, this all means nothing if the Bears don't start winning on the football. It just doesn't. All this excitement, it means nothing, absolutely, if the Bears can't find a way to win successfully on the football field. And I love that Ben Johnson's hitting the ground running, right? Bringing in guys that he's familiar with over from the Lions, right? Hank Fraley, to bring him over here and to see the kind of response that a lot of people have had to it, it's great, right? It's great to see. It's great. You want a coach that's going to be able to put his thumb and identity on this franchise because we need it. We need that development piece. We need that. But there's also some people in this as well. Like now you got, people talking and saying things like, well, what does this mean for DeAndre Swift? Does it mean good? Does it mean bad for DeAndre Swift? I talked about it on yesterday's episode. I actually think that DeAndre Swift can benefit from this because he's working with somebody now, Ben Johnson, that is familiar with him, that has worked with him before, albeit one season. But what if Ben Johnson does come in and say that DeAndre Swift guy, I don't really believe in him that much, which could lead to some of the rumors that we've heard with the Bears going after a running back in this draft, which is the next thing that we eventually got to get to as well, is start talking about what the Bears' focus is going to be in the draft. That becomes more clear, of course, in free agency, which we're going to talk a little bit about here. But I think, how Ben Johnson impacts the players that are already on this team in this hire is a big thing, right? Because you want somebody who's going to come in and develop these guys and get something more out of what we had. And hopefully that can be DeAndre Swift. I have a good feeling that it's going to be Cole Kmet, right? I think that Cole Kmet is going to be used very well in Ben Johnson's offense. But you got to look at it as well with this one. Is DeAndre Swift going to be as big of a plan as what the Bears had hoped he would be under Shane Waldron under Ben Johnson? And that's something that we'll see what happens there. They paid him. They gave him the bag, right, to a certain degree. Now we'll see what happens there with Ben Johnson. But I want Ben Johnson to be the one to make those decisions. I want Ben Johnson to craft what his vision is for this team and what he can make this team into. But with that, you also got to get to free agency. So in yesterday's episode, we talked about some of the players that Ben Johnson could bring over with him from the Detroit Lions, specifically offensive linemen, which really could help the Chicago Bears. And those guys I do hope come over because I think they can help strengthen the offensive line as well. But also, you're going to look at some free agency. And I like this. I want to see the Bears have a mix between veterans and youth on that offensive line next year, right? That's what I want to see happen. I would love a veteran center to snap the ball to the Chicago Bears. But we do have an article on some of the free agents that the Bears could target in free agency that could happen now with Ben Johnson in here. And the first one is Will Fries from the Indianapolis Colts. This is a guard. And, you know, if they start off by signing him, he would start on that interior offensive line for him. He did fracture his tibia in week 5 and missed the remainder of the year. So there are those questions there. But when you look at it, he was having a great season before that one happened. He had a 86.9 grade on Pro Football Focus. It's not the end-all be-all, right? But you also look at it, he's 26 years old. He would be a starter instantly on the Chicago Bears offensive line if he is signed by the Bears. So I do think that he is a player that the Chicago Bears should definitely be taking a look at to bolster that offensive line. Again, with how much change we're going to have on that line, which I would expect to be a lot. I don't know if Tevin Jenkins is going to be back. It would depend on the money, I think, and how much improvements they can make in other places. But I think if you can sign a 26-year-old, even coming off a major injury, that had an 86.9 Pro Football Focus grade and is a starter, would instantly be one of the best players on your offensive line, of course, if healthy. I think that makes a lot of sense for the Chicago Bears to try to do that with where their offensive line is in the state of that offensive line. So Will Fries is definitely somebody that I would love to see the Chicago Bears take a look at. Next up, Brandon Sheriff, guard from the Jacksonville Jaguars. We actually talked a little bit about him at both the trade deadline and in the offseason last year. And when you look at it with the Bears needing more than likely 2 new guards to start because Tevin Jenkins, I just don't expect him to be back. Brandon Sheriff is a guy that he's right there, very solid. He isn't necessarily looked at as an all-pro level, but he's a damn good starting guard for you. He has great pass protection, which is one of the things that the Bears are definitely looking in this as well. And if you can get Sheriff and Fries in the in free agency, could get expensive. So I don't know. Maybe you have to make a decision between one of those guys, if not both of them. But if you do, right, bring in both those guys and you add them to Darnell Wright. And listen, I get it. Braxton Jones, I would like to see Braxton Jones move to a depth piece. But if you're able to bring those 2 guys in free agency, add them to Darnell Wright, that allows you to cook in the draft with trying to figure out the rest of this offensive line to get you 2 solid starting guards. And that gives you a really good jump start paired with Darnell Wright, I would think. So that's what I look at is there. We also, in yesterday's episode, talked about a wide receiver option for the Chicago Bears because I do think the Bears are going to need a 3rd wide receiver. Now, some have asked, could that actually be Tyler Scott? There's a possibility for that. Maybe Ben Johnson comes in and has a better vision and a use case for than what we saw last year for Tyler Scott, which I think we all kind of were surprised how underutilized he was. But the Bears do want to find another veteran, right, to go for that 3rd receiver for the Bears. Marquise Brown, the wide receiver from the Kansas City Chiefs, I think is another guy that I think when you look at the way that Ben Johnson likes to call plays, this guy can fit in a lot with that as well. Marquise Brown, I also think, has a nice complementary skill set that can pair with Rome Odunze, with DJ Moore. Again, this is all if the Bears don't keep Keenan Allen, which a lot of you guys have asked, does this change anything? I think Keenan Allen wasn't about necessarily the coach or the usage. It was more so, everybody with the usage under the way our offense ran last year was a bit of a question there. But I think when you more so look at the money, is he willing to accept the money that the Bears would have to offer as they have other positions that are probably going to take a focus there? But you look at Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, as he's called, again, just as a 3rd receiver, I can see him. Last year, you look at him, only 2 games played in Kansas City, so you can't really use that as a big sample size. He played 14 games the year prior with Arizona, 574 yards, 4 touchdowns. The year before that, 2022, 709 yards with 3 touchdowns. And the year before that with Baltimore, played 16 games, 1,008 yards with 6 touchdowns. So I think this is a guy who, at 27 years old, can come in and add some of that, experience here for the Chicago Bears, while Cole Kmet, Rome Odunze, DJ Moore kind of take the focus. But Brown as your 3rd wideout, maybe even to bring in and battle with Tyler Scott until you're sure what Tyler Scott's going to bring, because they similar. Hollywood Brown, 5'9", 180 pounds. So you got to look at that part of it. But I think that these are players that could make some sense for the Chicago Bears as they go through free agency and try to figure out what the next phase of this team's going to be. as far as who they want to add to this team in those areas. So we'll see. Overall, though, I think that we're going to see a very aggressive Ryan Poles again in free agency. I think that he's going to have his targets. He's going to have positions that he's targeting as well. And you're going to see that focused effort. And that's kind of what you want Ryan Poles to get back. When Ryan Poles is focused, he does pretty good, right? Now, of course, the offensive line is a huge question there. No, Ben Johnson has a say into it when it comes down to it. But we got some things to do. And Ryan Poles has a lot of assets at his disposal. When you look at the number of draft picks, the excitement that some people are going to have around Ben Johnson will want to come play with Ben. Also, there are going to be people that want to come play with Caleb Williams as well. I don't know how much of a draw that's going to be necessarily while he's still ascending, but there's going to be some of that, right? And then I think overall, to add excitement back to the Bears, there are going to be some players that want to come and be a part of that and think that this could help either get them more money, whatever it is. And we got to see if the Bears are going to be able to take advantage of that. So that's what I'm really looking forward to. Really excited about this. And we're moving into this is truly a new phase for the Chicago Bears. It is what it is. This is a new phase. And let's hope that it ends up being exactly what we want it to be. Right? Because we deserve this, y'all. We deserve some damn success at some point, but you got to fight for it. You got to earn it. You got to you got to take it at times. Let's see if the Chicago Bears can do that. With that said, I expect the voicemail bag to be filled all week with all the excitement, all the talk around the Chicago Bears. We do got a voicemail today. This one's from Xavier.
What's going on, fellas? This is Xavier calling, man. I just want to process this whole Ben Johnson news because I've been on the Ben Johnson hype train since the end of last year. I said we should get rid of Flukes. At the end of last year, I called in and said that I wanted Ben Johnson. I mean, it came a year late, but I'm happy about it, bro. I think what he's going to provide, bro, is stability for Caleb, bro. And that's what we need for our young quarterback, bro. We didn't have no sense of direction for him, really. We saw what happened, bro. He's running around like a chicken with his head cut off. And now I feel like with an offensive mind, he's going to prosper with Ben Johnson, bro. It's going to be direction. It's going to be literally, this is what we want from you. This is what we expect from you. And we're going to get the best out of Caleb, bro. And I think he'll be extra motivated seeing what Jaden Daniels has done. You feel me? Because they're in the same draft class. It's going to be like that little chip on his shoulder because it's like, damn, like this dude already made an NFC championship game. Now I got to show why I was the guy over him. So I'm waiting, man. I'm proud. I want Ben Johnson to make me proud. Hopefully, shit, like this will be our coach for the next 10, 15 years, bro. Pair him and Ryan Poles, man, him and Caleb. Bro, I think we got us one. I think this is the man for the job, bro. He's been nothing less than extraordinary is what his play calling has been with the Lions. And I feel like you need that in the NFL today, bro. We've been a defensive-minded team my whole life. We have to change to offensive mindedness because of what the NFL's going. It's a scoring league now. You have to put up points on the board. Granted, defense will still win you games, but all that defense and running the ball shit is out the window, bro. It's a new NFL, bro. You have to put points on the board, and Ben Johnson can do that. So as long as they improve this offensive line and get Caleb the protection he needs, we'll be fine, bro. But Chicago up there.
So listen, a lot of people are on the Ben Johnson hype train, right? And like I said before, and I said in yesterday's episode as well, I love the stability that it does. And this is new for the Bears, right? Having some stability, moving like an organization that actually is intent and trying to actually win football games is a big change for some of us as well. So those things are going in the right direction for the Bears. Now, I don't want people to do the same thing, and they're going to do it anyway. Me saying this means nothing. They're going to do what they're going to do regardless. But people who all of a sudden now look at this and be like, "Bam, we should be competing for number one in the NFC North," because some people have said that it's still going to be a process. He's still a rookie head coach. And I think at sometimes we have to realize like we got to stop projecting and expecting one thing to just come in and be instant, right? Now, I do think things and the way the Bears operate and moving with more sense and more sensibility and moving more intentionally and using our talent better, those are things that you should absolutely look for to happen day one. It just may be that it doesn't turn out this Bears are just all of a sudden this offensive juggernaut day one. Now, I would love that. And is there a case of that? That's what training camp, that's what practice is, what all these things are for. But I think just just have some patience. And I know that's difficult to ask for Bears fans because shit, we've been struggling for years and years and years, right? So that's what it comes to. But Ben Johnson brings something that we need. Ben, like, yeah, we want to ball the fuck out. Yeah, we want to take the NFC North and never give it back, right? This is a new modern style coach for the Chicago Bears that we just haven't had. Now, let's hope that it gets on the football field, which all signs point to it doing. It's not like it's a huge doubt that we're going to see the success on the football field as far as a new modern offense, but you already got your Bears fans. Oh, we don't want a trick play caller. And it's like, that's not really what it is, right? But I know everybody's going to comprehend the game at the level they comprehend the game at. It is what it is. But the Bears have done something that's new, that's different, that feels new and different, that also feels like it could legitimately lead to success. And that's what we want to hope for, right? But like I said before, this puts pressure on Ryan Poles. You got your guy. Now you got to support your guy by going out there and changing the roster in the way that it needs to be changed so we can have a roster that can compete in this division, in this conference, and in the NFL. That's what it's all about, right? Go out in there and get that offensive line, get Caleb the protection that he needs, because now you got a play caller, you got weapons already. You spent last season getting weapons instead of protection. Now focus on the protection, maybe upgrade some of the weapons. We'll see how that happens. But this is the time. The offense should make that leap, I think, this year, and let's see where it's going to get to. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following the show at Shy Bear Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that's thanks to you lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.